Hello everyone, my name is Rick Passek, FlyFish Fanatic, and welcome to my tying bench. Today, a little buzzer pattern. This one's been a really successful pattern for me, like really successful. I've probably caught 30 to 40% of my fish over the last 3 years on this pattern. When I'm fishing Chironomids, that is. This is a pattern that I really, really like. A little bit of flash, a little bit of hot spot colors, but it's a British buzzer style pattern. So, alrighty, so let's get her going. So today in the vise, we'll be using a Hends BL550. I don't usually tie them in a size 8 unless I'm tying a big buzzer, but like a big bomber. But I just thought for ease for you guys to see it a little bit better, I'll go with an 8. But I usually tie these in a 10, 12, 14. Going to be using some Semperfli Nanosilk in black. Actually, I might have to, now that I just noticed that, I might have to change my thread because I think my black's going to run out on me. So I'll do that while I'm yakking. Throw that away. I'm going to be using some Semperfli Floss for the rib in Chartreuse. So that's what this here in Chartreuse. For the rib. For the body, I'm going to be using 2 different flexi flosses. Going to be using a black for the body I'm using black flexi floss, and then for the rib I'm using the green floss from Semperfli. Then for the gills, I'm going to be using some Semperfli green Chartreuse green Goose Biots. And then I'm also going to use some pearl tinsel in a small pearl tinsel for shellback. You'll see how that works once I do that. So let me just finish threading this. I hate threading thread. I'm so blind, but thank God for these things, eh? Alrighty, let's get this started now that I wasted some time. And yeah, there's no weight on this. There's no bead head, no nothing. So get that started here. Now, for those of you that are new to tying buzzers, there is a rule of thumb that if you turn this like this, and you see where the tip ends, so really my thorax, the front section of my Chironomid where my gills and everything will be, should stop about there, about the tip of the hook, so maybe even one back. But you see that so that is going to be the thorax section, okay? But just so you guys, just for it's a slight rule of thumb. It doesn't have to be perfect, but so I just come back to about there and then open wraps. I'm going to come back. I'm going to take my floss. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a wet just to stop the fraying, because any of these flosses, they like fraying. And again, open wraps all the way back and around the corner to where you want to stop. I like going quite a bit around the corner with this pattern. Then I'll put that in my material clip, keep it out of the way. And then I'm going to take my black flexi. Now, I could have tied it in at the same time, but I find because I want to stretch this flexi really, really tight, it's kind of hard to do when you've got the other floss in there. So, and of course I touch the tip. So just get that in there. Caught. I actually go back a bit. There we go. And the reason is I want to be able to, nice and tight, pull this all the way down. Again, open wraps all the way down to where I tied in. And then again, you can open wrap it, you can fully cover. Doesn't really matter. I like keeping it, obviously it's a Chironomid buzzer style. I like keeping it thin, right? So now I'm just going to bring this forward, and then with a good stretch, I'm going to start wrapping my body. And I mean a really good stretch. You want to keep this thin, right? Especially at the back. You can always let it go a little bit as you come. So get good quality flexi floss, because some of this stuff, if you stretch it too much, it'll actually lose its color. So I'm doing touch and wraps all the way up, and I'm slightly letting go just ever so little as I come forward. Very little though, as I come forward. And I think one more there. I'm just going to bring that back. Tie that off. Okay, I'm going to give this a good stretch. Cut her off. Make sure that's tied in good before you give it a good stretch. Otherwise, whoop, you just undid everything. Now, the key with this is, you see how this is, how thick that is, and it's kind of, it's there's little strands in there. You don't want that. So I wet my fingers and I just give it a twist. Twist, 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 twist. I'm really twisting this up. And then I'm going to counter wrap. Just make sure you get that nice twist in there. And then every time you come around, give it another good twist. Twist, because you don't want this rib to be too fat, right? One more into there. Probably going to get half covered anyway by the front section here, but that's okay. So now that I've got that, I'm just going to give that a nice pull again. See how that frays? That's because I gave it a big pull, right? So there's the body section done. So now I'm going to just come back to about there, just to finish that portion up. Now I'm going to take a piece of that pearl tinsel, and I'm just going to cut a little bit of it off. I don't need a lot of it here, but just a little bit. And I'm going to tie that in on my side, but I'm going to let it ride to the top. I want this to be right up on top. It's almost like a shellback. Well, not almost like, it is a shellback. Just get that tied in. Okay. So that's tied in. Now I'm going to take my two goose biots. And some people can tie them in two at a time. I can't. I always seem to get my darn fingers in the way. Big clod hoppers. So I like taking it by the tip and then tying it in on the underside. So that's one. So you can see where it's tied in. It's right on that underside, kind of right on the side under, right? And that's what I'm going to do. Same thing. I'll try to see if I can show you guys exactly where I want it on this side. But I'm going to tie it in almost on the top, and then actually I got to go forward because you always want to tie in from the tip. And you see how it pulls it around? That's what I want. I want that to pull it right around to the side bottom. And see how that ends up, kind of? On the bottom there. It's actually a little bit too much. I'll get that to pull up just a bit. There. That's where I want it, right about there. So now I'm just going to build up a little bit of a football shape. Doesn't have to be huge. Just want to have just want to make sure that it is a predominant section here, right? Okay. So now I'm going to take my Shellback. Just give it a couple of turns. Make sure it's sitting right in the middle. Give it another turn. And then I'm just going to nip that off. Now you can do it all at the same time too, but just for cleanliness, I like doing it separately. And then I bring my 2 Biots forward and up. See how they're up, right? And then I will do a kind of a loose wrap, pull that down, see how that looks. Not bad. Do another couple of wraps, and at this point I like putting a whip finish in. Just one whip finish, nice and tight. And then I take a pair of tweezers and I hold my thread really tight, and I grab one at a time here and get as close as I can and break it off, and then get as close as I can and break it off. And I've actually noticed I slightly crowded this head, but only very slightly, so it's not a huge deal. So now I'm going to go behind that, just give it 1, 2, 3, 4 turn whip finish. Nice and tight. This is Nanosilk, so you can really crank on it. If I really wanted to, I could bend this hook. So there is my finished fly. Alrighty. So then what I'll end up doing is I'll take this is Sally's, Sally Hansen's. Just make sure you don't get it in that eye, and if you do, you can always clean it out later. Right? So then I'm gonna, that's a decent coating on there. Now I'm gonna wipe this Sally's as much as I can off this brush. Because I don't want this to be dripping, right? So then what I will do here is I will take it, and I got these little alligator clips. I'll just put that in, put that off to the side, just so you guys can see. This one here is dry. I did earlier, but I'm going to put a second coat on now. I'm just going to focus that a bit for you. There we go. So I did this one about a half an hour ago, and I coated it. And now I'm just going to take my Sally's again, wipe it clean, because I just want a little bit of it on there, not a whole lot. Right? With this stuff, you just want to do layers, right? Don't want to have a lot at a time. And you really want to make sure you protect those ribs and those gills. Right? Because those are the weaker spots that will come apart. So there you go. That is it. That's the second coat on there. I could have, with this one here, I could have went back, 2-3 more turns back on the hook, but it's fine. Like I said, I'll tie them in many different sizes and shapes and stuff. So, but that's like I said, this is the one that's been real successful for me over the last 3 seasons or so. When I fish chironomids, it's probably the one that catches, like I said, 80 to 85% of my fish. So, alrighty. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you've subscribed, thanks a lot. If you haven't, please consider doing so. Spread the word to all your buddies, and we'll see you on the next tying video. Tie lines, everyone.